Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And we have an episode today that is just so important in the world today. My guest, we were talking before we started recording, and she's like, you know what? I could talk about a lot of things. Let's just have fun. So we're going to talk about why the African elephant population is declining so rapidly. Bridget, welcome to the show. And what do you have to say about this?
I would say that when we focus on things like solving the world's problems, that we lose our intentionality in honoring our own roles and goals first and foremost.
Okay, that was an awful answer to an awful question, but that's okay. I set you up for failure. But no, we're supposed to talk about how to turn your relationships into revenue. And we also want to talk about what keeps people stuck. Let's get ourselves unstuck in life, in our business, and grow our businesses. And yes, you already sort of met our guest here, Bridget Hom. Before we go any further with ridiculousness, Bridget, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Oh, Brandon, I love the ridiculous, it just makes life more exciting.
You threw out the challenge. I couldn't resist. So we talked about elephants. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if Bridget does or doesn't, but I don't really care. And I don't think you do either. So Bridget, no. I want the listeners to hear your backstory because yes, we're talking about how to turn relationships into revenue, how to get unstuck and get to your next level. But you are someone who was unstuck, maybe got stuck, and then, just blast through unstuck again. So your story is incredible. Just share the quick overview with the listeners.
Yeah, that's the real elephant in the room, isn't it?
I see what you did there. Beautiful, beautiful, Bridget. Thank you.
Well, the truth is we all have stories. We're a beautiful mess as human beings, aka business owners as well. And so when I got started, people ask, what was your big motivation for launching this phenomenal coaching business? I said, well, desperation, honestly. I had no other options. I was on my way to getting Zoom divorced, moved out of my big, beautiful home. I moved into a new apartment with my 3 young boys, and then virtual school happened. And my job in the seniors industry disappeared for senior citizen safety. And so I had no income coming in. And I feel like most of you entrepreneurs or business owners, you started business building the plane while you were flying it. You just said yes to each opportunity in front of you. And that's exactly what I did. I got a random Zoom business networking link. And still to this day, I have no idea. I didn't know these people. I had never been a part of this networking group live. And I showed up on a Thursday morning at 8 a.m. and I said, Bridget Hom here with Bridge to Freedom Coaching. Are you ready to level up? And then I had 6 clients within 6 weeks. And then all my programs were born. And I've gotten to empower so many entrepreneurs and coaches and leaders into doing entrepreneurship in an empowered way. You should probably know what empowered means, right?
I feel like we should know. Give us your definition of empowered.
Well, actually, I looked this up because I was seeing it everywhere on social media. I'm like, everyone's like, empower, elevate. Okay, what does that actually mean? And empowerment, according to Webster's dictionary, means to give someone the authority or power to do something. And that's what we do. What if we did that for every person in front of us, right? Empower you to do something or be something.
Yeah, right. It's that permission that I feel like a lot of people need subconsciously. Mm. So where is that in the conversation of becoming unstuck? Is it just that simple? Do we need that permission? Do we need to be empowered?
Well, actually, I'll tell you a personal story. It's kind of embarrassing. I think we do need that permission sometimes. So for example, I love coffee. And I'm sure many of us do, but it's a real problem. I worked at Starbucks once upon a time in college, just to get my drug of choice. You get a free pound a week there, by the way, just in case you're wondering, and full health benefits. But I had a coffee press for the past 2 years, and it leaked coffee grounds into my coffee every day. And when I pushed the coffee press down, if you're a coffee person, you know this, you push the press down, the thing would explode and I would clean it up every single morning. 2 years. And then one day I realized someone said to me, you can get a new coffee press. And I'm like, I can. And I got a new coffee press. I didn't have to drink coffee grounds anymore. $25 on Amazon. Showed up Amazon Prime. But the real question is, what are you doing on a daily basis that is keeping you drinking coffee grounds every day? What is a habit that you've just been living under influence with in your circumstances, environment, emotions, toxic headspace, inaction as an entrepreneur? Where are you stuck? And you just don't realize you need permission to move into the more and better. You don't have to drink coffee grounds anymore. Neither do I. It's great. It's very free.
I'm stuck on that now. I do have a coffee problem myself. As a matter of fact, the listeners, if you watch the show, you don't listen to the show. I usually have my my Disney princess mug here. It's got Belle's face on it. It's bright yellow. It's my thing because I'm always drinking coffee. I happen to have finished all of it today, but I think I want to refill now. But you're right. I mean, it's a good example. It's a stupid example, to be honest with you. I mean, 2 years is ridiculous, but
completely.
It's more about you than it is about anybody else. But how do you identify those things? Because you said you had a friend that said you could just get a new one, which is so obvious when you hear it. But for 2 years, you put up with it. Was it because it wasn't really hindering your coffee? I mean, you spit out the occasional ground every now and then, but what is it? Does it not bother you enough?
I'm probably just a true coffee drinker, right? I'd like to chew while I drink my coffee. No, the truth is, it's just most of us need that level of awareness and accountability to start to actually make changes, right? There has to be something. If it's not pain, it's accountability. Most of us have to go through the pain. I would say 90% of us need to go through the pain, right? And also, 77% of statistics are made up on the spot. But the majority of us need to go through pain or a cycle of, I have no other options. I have no other alternatives. And I'm just sick and tired of being stuck in not being productive, not being profitable, and not knowing how to be proactive.
I guess the other side of that too is for people who have had grounds in their coffee for 2 years and they've gotten used to it, and then they buy a new French press and they still have grounds in their coffee. They're like, this is stupid. No matter how many times I buy this thing or I try to fix this problem, it's still there. I'm still chewing my coffee and I shouldn't be chewing my liquids. So what I'm really getting at is, and I hear this problem all the time when we're about to onboard a new client, they say, but I've worked with COOs or business managers. So we do fractional COO work, and they told me the same things I'm already doing. So why is your thing different? Why am I going to have a different experience? That's the common fear, because you try to solve the problem or fix whatever's going on and you get the same result. So where does that come to play in becoming unstuck?
Well, like you noticed, it's like, Bridget, I see it. Everyone else around you sees the problem, but how many people are actually willing to say, hey, you could change this for yourself, right? And let's look at the metaphor of coffee grounds. Many people that I meet all the time are stuck in the lack of inaction, the lack of taking imperfect action for their business growth, the lack of direction. And they sit in that and they keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. And so it really does take someone to come in and say, hey, you don't have to do it this way anymore. And like the awareness, it doesn't take much to see that that's better than what I've been doing, right? It doesn't take much to give me a fresh cup of coffee, right? Without coffee grounds and go, oh, that tastes so much better. So when you see someone offering the more and better in front of you, it's very easy to recognize that that is your next step for getting unstuck. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. And I'm most curious. So the people listening to the show, typically upper 6 to 7 figure revenue businesses, they are the owners, the founders, the entrepreneurs who have gotten the business here. That is a phenomenal feat, by the way.
Absolutely.
Like, kudos to you for growing a business that far. But the one thing, whether they've realized it or not, is what got them here won't get them there. So we're all stuck to some degree. Even if you have a business that's generating that much revenue, you are inherently stuck to getting to your next level. So what do you have a process you take people through to just, do you go item by item in their life, or what's that way that you help them get to the next level? Because I don't believe that people are really limited at any certain revenue mark or leadership mark. There's just something in their way that they don't see. So how do we get people to see it and get past where they are?
Agreed. Everyone does have blocks, myself included. Every single person has blocks. It's just, all right, what are these blocks preventing you from doing or preventing you from being? Right? It's all about doing and being. Being comes before doing. So, what I would say, honestly, you could do this exercise in 2 minutes, because we want to give nuggets for people to actually start to implement for growth. It's all about action. And so you set a 2-minute timer and you ask yourself a question. What am I blocked from? What do I want to do? Give yourself multiple choice answers. All right. And you'll easily be able to recognize what you're blocked and what you truly desire. You know, on many calls that I have with people, if they can identify it verbally, it's because their conscious mind is all wrapped up in what's going on in the moment. But your subconscious mind knows exactly the direction it wants to take, the decisions it wants to make, and the destination that it wants to end up at. So if you just give yourself a moment to be intentional, set a 2-minute timer, because the brain can only focus on one thing at a time. Ask yourself some questions, pause with a purpose, and write down the answers. You're going to figure it out, what you're really stuck in at this moment and where you want to go next.
You brought up an interesting point, though, and I run into that a lot too, is it's very hard for people to articulate what they want. And often when you ask them that question, they'll just start telling you what they don't want. I mean, is there power in that too, by just seeing, what did you come up with what you don't want, and then thinking about, all right, we're not going to do that anymore. Now we're going to focus on what we want. How do you get people in that headspace, really?
Specifically, I have most people do writing in front of me.
Hmm.
Because it's not, the answers don't lie within me. The answers lie within you. And you could absolutely identify them for yourself just by getting out a pen and paper. And so I always practice, I have a lot of emotional intelligence strategies, but it always starts with self-awareness to get to self-direction, to get to self-actualization. But that is always the first step. Like we were talking about, the awareness, right? I don't want to drink coffee grounds anymore. Write it out. What do you not want? And what do you do want?
I never want that one. I didn't know I had to put that on the list, but I'm going to make sure that's at the top of my list. But okay, so I hinted at the original topic for this episode, which I can't stop thinking about, and I'm sure it ties together beautifully with everything you're saying, but turning relationships into revenue. So obviously you meet somebody and you sell them on the black market. Am I hearing that topic correctly? Is that right?
Black market is definitely an interesting way to state it.
How do you turn your relationships into revenue? What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, it's the philosophy of being the empowerment generator. Because like everyone says and knows the phrase, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Empowered people empower people. And we've already defined empowerment, which is giving people the authority or power to do something. So when it comes to sales, most people are focusing on the doing. I focus on the being first. Because it's about who you're being when you're doing. And because business and people are synonymous. So it's adopting a couple of new definitions first and foremost. First one, sales is serving others with solutions. Branding is programming your prospects to want you. Marketing is SEO for your client's mind. And the close is giving people the opportunity to have more and better. Because no one wants our product, message, or service, but everyone wants more and better. And it's your job through various steps to communicate the more and better based on the proverbial door that your prospect opens for you. Now, I don't want to take too deep a dive here. Just want to give people an idea of a good viewpoint of what it means to do sales from an empowered standpoint. And it's always adding value to the person in front of you, no matter what, but doing it by showing up well and authentically. Best business advice I've ever received was from my first business partner when we were talking about Walter. I met him salsa dancing. Commonplace to meet business partners, by the way. And he said, I was really not comfortable with business at the time. I didn't have any experience. And he said, Bridget, it's all right. Just be you anywhere you are. And the truth is, when we get to that successful 6, 7, 8-figure place, it's very, very common to forget honoring our roles and goals. And it's easy to lose our being in our doing. And when that happens, that's when burnout happens, because burnout actually doesn't happen because of the doing. It happens because you forgot the being part of you. And so adopting ways to be to thine own self be true, like Shakespeare said, will really get you back into the swing of your sales mojo being on point again, being re-inspired for more business growth, because it all comes back to being.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think in your intro, your 30-second intro in that networking meeting, that you were the bridge, right? What I'm seeing is there's a lack of a bridge between that person you just described in a sales context and the person who is stuck. So obviously one has to come before the other, right? When you do get yourself unstuck, what is that bridge to become the person who can transform relationships into revenue, who can confidently step into sales meetings and sales conversations? And you mentioned the being piece. I would think that's a lot of it, right? Because if you're just not thinking of yourself in a way of service and serving others. So how do we take that last step?
Well, first off, I mean, I can't give you all my mindset strategies that are part of my program
Fair
right
enough.
now.
That's completely fair.
However,
Okay, this has been a great episode. Bye.
but that's the truth. That's why I have the mindset programming strategies first, which I personally practice, so that I can get into that right headspace every day, hire and fire the right mental team, if you will. And so set up my my authenticity before I go into doing, so I could do doing better. But one of the things that I will say, for sales sake, you're never selling your product, message, or service first. So if you're venturing into entrepreneurship and you're like, don't put the cart before the horse. All right. You don't just go in there and give a sales pitch. You actually have to break your prospect free from receiving a sales pitch. And so relatability is your superpower. And so I'm going to tell you a secret as part of my script and how to close prospects within 30 minutes. The first thing you always share is gratitude. So if you're like stuck in the business in the box mentality of the hi, how are you game, it's like when someone asks you how you're doing, you say, I'm grateful we're meeting today. How are you?
Quick pause. Bridget did exactly that when coming on to this episode before we started recording. So she actually does what she says. Okay, continue.
And then the second thing, you want to build some rapport, right? I mean, I had someone ask me how they were doing, or what's your greatest win today, which is an interesting question to ask, right? When you first get to know someone. And honestly, I just said my vacuum's fixed. And I live in a world of hair with three boys and 3 dogs. That's my greatest win. Nevertheless, did I tell them I just signed 5 new clients? No, I didn't. Because my greatest win of that day was the vacuum. So being real and authentic and relatable. Relatability is a superpower, especially as an entrepreneur in sales. No matter what level of income you're at, relatability is a superpower. We like to feel connected to one another. But then you're going to always honor the intention that someone brought to your time together today. No matter if you're walking into a board meeting, meeting someone for the first time, even in your personal relationships, this might be a little formal, but you always want to ask the question, I'm curious, when you thought about us chatting today, what was your thought? Because you want to honor the intention that someone brought to your time together today. And that's the fastest way to develop a direction, to make empowered decisions, to align to it with a destination of partnership with you in some way. Because in sales, every single person you meet is a prospect, a client, or a referral partner. No one else exists. And here's why. Doesn't mean you're going to sell everyone, but it means that a confused mind does nothing. And if you're sitting there trying to figure out whether this person is a prospect for you, well, you're not going to be engaged in the conversation. And that's the most important part. Be absolutely present and give that person in front of you the gift of radical self-acceptance. And then sell your authority, credibility, and relatability. And then take it from there.
I love it. That's at the risk. I won't ask you any more questions at the risk of making you give away more of your secrets. But what I will say is you wrote a book on just this, Stuck on Ready. So I'll put that on the screen. The link is down in the show notes down below. What is the book about?
Well, in the world of business, it takes too long to get ready. And you have to be ready to master the successful entrepreneur mindset, break free from self-sabotage to access your limitless potential. So the entire book, one of my clients called it his business Bible, because every single page has a strategy to use to engage with people in an empowering way, to focus on sales, branding, marketing, mindset, and navigating social media effectively. And I actually have an 8-week course specifically based on the book as well.
I love it. That's awesome. Bridget, thank you so much for being here. I can't, though, let you go without asking you the last and most important question. It's actually a question from you to the listener. So the common theme here, outside of elephants, and coffee, it seems like empowering, right? Empowering yourself, giving yourself permission, empowering others even. So around that, what is a powerful question that the listener can ask themselves in order to get unstuck and get to that next level of their lives and their career?
It would have to do with these 3 words, and I highly recommend you write these down on paper right now. What direction am I going in? What decisions do I need to make to align with my destination of my future successful self? Direction, decisions, and destination to take imperfect action today.
I love it. Those are awesome. 3 awesome questions. Bridget, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah, Brandon, this was awesome. Whenever you want to talk about another elephant in the room, let me know.
Full circle. Enough of the madness. Wherever you're watching and listening, make sure you subscribe. What would you do without this ridiculous show in your life? 5 days a week. Probably a lot of better things, but at least we want to help you grow your business just a little bit and build a harmonious business and life. That's the whole point. So subscribe. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch.